This is HERkys Voice, a conversation with special Hawkeye guests focusing on the stories and people behind Hawkeye athletics. Now, here's the host of HERkys Voice, Iowa women's tennis coach, Sasha Schmid.
Welcome to HERkys Voice. We have so many exciting events planned for 2023. Today, I wanted to spend an episode talking about some of the exciting upcoming events that you can join and be a part of in Hawkeye women's athletics. I had the chance to sit down with Taylor Berry and Kelsey Laverdiere to discuss the upcoming events and give you all of the information you need. Hawkeye fans, you won't want to miss this episode. Take a listen to Taylor and Kelsey. Hawkeye fans, join 9 of our Hawkeye head coaches, myself included, at our Women in Athletics luncheon in Des Moines on February 22nd. Coaches will discuss how they empower women through sport and much, much more. The lunch is $30 per person or $225 for a reserved table of 8. Visit the events section at hawkeyesports.com/HERkys to register today.
Hawkeye fans, join Rob Brooks and Lisa Bluter each week from 6 to 7 for Hawk Talk at Bumps Restaurant presented by Oak Knoll. View the season schedule at hawkeyesports.com.
2023 is the year we celebrate 50 years of Iowa women's athletics. To celebrate this incredible milestone, the Iowa Athletic Department and HERkys Committee will be hosting a weekend in May with several events, including the Black and Gold Gala. The gala is open to the public. It will be held in Carver Hawkeye Arena on Saturday, May 6th. Save the date invites are coming out soon. Tell your friends and keep an eye out for registration information. Go Hawks!
You don't have to go to the game to get a game program. You can download it now by visiting the game day page on hawkeyesports.com. That's right, the game program is now digital and it's free. So check it out. Get the roster, the stats, and fascinating stories about today's matchup. Just go to hawkeyesports.com and click on game day.
Welcome to HERkys Voice. We're nearing the end of January, so that must mean it's time to celebrate National Girls and Women in Sports Day. And I couldn't think of 2 more perfect guests to welcome in than my friends and coworkers. Kelsey Laverdiere is joining us today, Associate Director of Marketing and Multimedia for Iowa Athletics. Kelsey, welcome back to HERkys Voice.
Thank you, Sasha. I always love hanging out with you. Appreciate you having us on.
Thanks for joining us. And first-time podcast guest here joining us is Taylor Berry. Taylor is our Associate Director for Annual Giving for Iowa Athletics. Taylor, welcome to HERkys Voice.
Thanks, Sasha. It's so cool to see the behind the scenes of how this all works and everything.
Well, you've been definitely involved in a lot of the episodes, so I'm excited to have you come to the microphone, Taylor. And Kelsey had a episode that we got to hear your story earlier this fall, which I loved. Taylor and I kind of look at listener numbers and kind of go back through, and we appreciate all of our listeners, but I just happened to notice, Kelsey, we had a lot of people listening to your episode. I don't know if I've ever told you that.
I didn't see that. I was hoping I'd just sneak in there.
Everybody loved listening to Kelsey. So if you missed it, go back and you can hear Kelsey's story, a true homegrown Hawkeye. And Taylor, you also have a tie to athletics before joining the staff. Tell us a little bit about your journey to Iowa.
Yeah, so I've bounced around the Big Ten a little bit, but I'm born and raised Muscatine, Iowa, grew up a Hawkeye fan, decided I wanted to play college softball, so I went and became a Badger for 4 years, played college softball in Madison. Great experience, really cool to see, the student athlete perspective and get to travel and meet some of my best friends and everything. And then I actually came back to Iowa and I worked in academics here in the athletic department for a little over a year, which was kind of a cool perspective to see everything that they do to help make our student athletes successful. And then went on to get my master's out west at Nebraska in Lincoln. So I spent a year and a half out there in their athletic administration program. I worked in their athletic department a little bit and again got to see another athletic department just from a different perspective. And then a job opened up here at Iowa in our foundation where we do all of the fundraising. And I made my way back to Iowa, and now I've been in the job for 3 years. So I'm happy to be home.
And what does annual and giving entail?
Yeah, so annual giving is anyone who gives $15,000 or less a year. It's support of our iClub fund, which heavily comes from football ticket sales and things like that. But the thing that's great about the iClub and the iClub fund is that any money that comes into that fund goes to support all of our sports. And I think that's great. You know, it's equipment, it's nutrition, it's academic services. It really helps to provide the full student athlete experience for all of our 600 student athletes. And so I like that part of my job, and that I feel like I'm impacting all of them and not necessarily just one team or one group of them. So, yeah.
Love it. And thank you for all you're doing and for, continuing to try to move Iowa athletics forward here. And I think this is a fun conversation for the three of us because we all have those ties back to our playing days and our athletics and the impact that sport made in our lives. And now we found ourselves continuing to make this a profession and continue to work as Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
And so February 1st is National Girls and Women in Sport Day. And this is an annual day to recognize the impact that sport can have on girls and women. And we've done some wonderful programming throughout the years, and I really want to highlight what we're doing this year. But before I wanted to move to that, I thought I could kind of just give history. I needed to kind of go back and learn the history about this day. So I learned it was first observed in 1987 to remember Olympic volleyball player Flo Hyman and acknowledge her as the best female volleyball player of her time. She was devoted to working to promote equal representation of women in sports. Since Flo, their day has evolved to commemorate all women's athletes, their achievements, the positive impacts of inclusion of women in sports, and to address the challenges regarding equal participation of women in sport activities. The day also appreciates the progression made since the enactment of the Civil Rights Law of Title IX. So this is a really exciting year to be recognizing National Girls and Women in Sport Day because we're in this incredibly special time of just coming off recognizing 50 years of Title IX. And 2023 is 50 years of Iowa women's athletics. Kelsey, tell us a little bit about what we have in store for recognizing this special day here at Iowa Athletics.
Yes, I love how you summarized what the day represents, and it's so important to honor females in sports and all those that have committed so much to provide equitable opportunities for females in sport. Throughout the years here at Iowa, it's always been fun, easy, and exciting to get our teams together because the culture we have in our women's athletics programs is the best I've ever seen. Our teams are close, our coaches are close, and so it's just another fun reason to get together to celebrate everything that we're doing collectively and as individuals. And so this day is really to bring everybody together and highlight the incredible accomplishments we've been able to do as a department. On February 2nd, we have a large basketball game, and we will be bringing all of our women's teams together. We're going to have a little get-together party at 6:30 over here at Carver Hawkeye Arena. We're going to invite little girls to come out and meet our student athletes, hang out with them, get some free pizza, just ask them any questions that they have. And we already have such an incredible group of young individuals that follow our women's teams. And I know this day is called National Girls and Women in Sports, but having a 4-year-old son who loves women's sports more than anybody I've ever met, you don't want to be remiss to not include all those little boys that look up to our female student athletes. So, we're going to welcome any kid that wants to come out and looks up to our female student athletes to have that up close and personal encounter. All of our teams will be there. It doesn't stop there at the beginning of the game. We'll have that pizza party and hang out and enjoy each other. Our women's game will start. Our women's basketball team takes on Maryland at 7:30. We'll be on ESPN as well. So this is just showing how far women's athletics has come. This year in particular, our women's basketball team has been on TV a record amount of times, including Fox Sports. it's just fun to see that. They deserve that stage. They deserve that opportunity to highlight all the incredible accomplishments that they can do. So we'll have all the teams there. We're going to have some special videos highlighting the accomplishments throughout the year, in-game recognitions. We're going to give some of our head coaches the microphones, interview some of our student athletes. We're going to do some fun activities with little girls at the game. It's just going to be jam-packed with as much as we can do to highlight our incredible teams.
Not as if anyone needs another reason to come watch Iowa women's basketball play, because they're definitely earning the right to have the arena completely packed coming off a win over number 2 Ohio State. But this day is really a day that has significance, and I think it can be incredibly powerful to be in Carver Hawkeye Arena on Thursday and just showing the support that comes from our Iowa City community for the value of supporting women's athletics and all that it does to empower women in our society, and especially this significant role that the University of Iowa has played historically, opening up equal opportunities to women through our leadership in our past. Mm-hmm. Kelsey did an amazing job telling that story through the documentary Unshakable Belief. Tell us a little bit about, if you haven't already heard, how you might be able to access looking at that documentary and just what that film meant to you and continues to mean to you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a few months since we've launched it, obviously, but it's still so impactful to telling our story, to telling Dr. Grant's story and what she started. All of our teams, men and women, are still embodying her message and her fight to be equitable. So it's, if you haven't had a chance to see it, you can access it on YouTube. You can just search Unshakable Belief, the story of Dr. Christine Grant. This past January, you know, it was been 1 year since we lost her, and it's she lives on. She always will. I'm really excited for our fans to see our latest women's gymnastics highlight video, which Sasha and Lisa Salucci and Lorenda assisted with the voiceover. And it's all of our teams are still highlighting that, focusing on the messaging that she provided us, that tradition that she started. So make sure you come out to gymnastics and check out this intro video that's highlighting 50 years of Title IX and Iowa women's athletics. It's a special tribute.
We've had so many successes in all of our women's programs and our men's programs this year that it's so much synergy moving forward through all of the programs. And I think it's just an incredible time for all of our coaching staff and athletic members and staff members to be feeling such pride in Iowa athletics. And I think that you can feel that throughout the community. Kelsey and I were talking before we started recording just about the many ways that our community can be involved in supporting Iowa athletics and specifically Iowa women's athletics. And one of the main ways is by, being able to show up for these events that we have scheduled and being able to participate in a lot of the opportunities that we're really wanting to publicize, especially to our HERkys Voice listeners, because you guys are such loyal followers. So we really hope that you would be able to come to these events. If you haven't been to an Iowa women's basketball game, definitely this Thursday would be amazing for you to be able to show up and fill up Carver Hawkeye Arena, especially on a nationally televised game. That is always very, very exciting. But also all of the other events that are going on. Kelsey, talk a little bit about some of the other amazing events that we've been hosting and that you've been running here at Iowa.
We have a lot of great people behind the scenes helping run incredible events, and the teams are just working so hard. The community is being so supportive of all of our teams, so we cannot thank the community and everybody involved enough. We just got done with the Larry Wiz invite over here, this indoor track meet. It was incredible. I mean, we have Olympic athletes, and our student athletes are keeping up with them and beating them and doing an incredible job. So I can't say enough about our track and field student athletes. It's just so fun to watch them. Swim and dive is going to be headed into postseason now, and their team is just rolling. They've got some really good younger individuals that are taking the program to new levels, and that's fun to watch. Gymnastics will be opening up after this is released. We'll have already hosted one. We're hosting the Big Ten Championships over at Extreme Arena, and we're going to host another one, another meet over there in February against Michigan State. The fact that we get to host the Big Ten Championships is incredible. It's an incredible opportunity for those female student athletes, so cannot wait for that. And we know the community is backing us in an incredible way for that event. We could just go through it. The fall success we had, it was so fun with soccer, field hockey, and volleyball. Just they're doing an incredible job with coaching and student athletes. And we're headed in strong to our spring sports. I know, Sasha, your team's ready to roll. We're excited to have you back. February rolls around, and you open February 3rd, right?
Yeah,
here at
busy.
home. You've already been playing and doing an incredible job. And I think it's just going to be fun to just, this year is a special one, and we have some standout student athletes that are doing an incredible job. Softball Media Day is today, and cannot wait to see what they have in store. Renee's doing an incredible job. Women's wrestling, I've listened to the episodes that you've had with those student athletes, and it's so fun to watch them be trailblazers of their sport and provide more opportunities for women in that. And then to watch all the other women's teams and head coaches embrace them. It's really special and something that, you can't even describe it. And it's going to be an exciting year next year for them to actually open their season. So.
At Oak Knoll, our mission is to provide exceptional retirement living and health services through life care. I'm Steve Rowe, Executive Director. We are a not-for-profit life plan community and have served Iowa City for more than 55 years. Our team helps residents create home by living our values of caring, respect, enthusiasm, awareness, teamwork, and encouragement. If you're looking at retirement options, visit our website at oakknoll.com. We want you to lead life your way. Go Hawks!
Join Gary Dolphin and Bobby Hansen for Hawk Talk with Fran McCaffrey each week at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Coralville. Hawk Talk is 90 minutes of discussion about Iowa basketball. Check out HawkeyeSports.com for more information.
We love the competitiveness of Iowa athletics, and obviously the success and the winning is fantastic. But I always think it's great to be able just to go back and remind ourselves what sports does for women as we start to look forward to the National Girls and Women in Sports Day. And so some of the statistics definitely point to that it can decrease a woman's risk of breast cancer, increases self-esteem, increases confidence, can increase a woman's bone mass and decrease her chance of osteoporosis. Women and girls who participate in sports have higher grades than students who don't, have lower dropout rates, have lower pregnancy rates, are less likely to use drugs, and more likely to graduate from college. And they learn skills that will help them for the rest of their lives. So I think it's always great to pull back the lens and the perspective and really just honor the impact that equal opportunities in sport has. And this day is a day, obviously, to honor the progress that we have made in the past 50 years since the enactment of Title IX. Honor, obviously, all of our Iowa women's sports student athletes who are thriving and excelling, and also continue to make this be a value that we put on the forefront and continue to advocate for. So really, really exciting. So we hope you can turn out on Thursday and help us celebrate this very special annual day here at the University of Iowa. But that is not the only event that we have. We have a lot of other exciting things happening this spring. Taylor, tell us a little bit about the event that you're organizing in February with some of our women's head coaches.
Yeah, so February 22nd, we're going to be bringing 9 of our head coaches to Des Moines to do a luncheon. And we did this last year. I might be biased, but I think it was my favorite event last year. I don't know what other opportunity you get to sit down and hear from, 5, 10 head coaches in the same room. I could sit and listen to coaches talk about, their philosophy and their teams and the way they encourage them and the way they build a community within their team and within their program forever. And I think it was a really cool event last year. I think our coaches liked the opportunity to meet fans. I think new fans were created from that event. So we'll be in Des Moines February 22nd. Tell your friends. You can go to hawkeyesports.com/HERkys and scroll to the events section, and you can register online there. You can come on your own, or you can bring 7 friends and have a reserved table of 8. But you'll get to meet our coaches and hear from them, and just kind of hear as they discuss with each other and talk about each other and how they make themselves and their team so successful at Iowa.
Yeah, it's a luncheon, and I loved going in May, and this is kind of another opportunity to have the same event, but hopefully get even more people that may have missed the event in May to come out and join us. And I can say that one of the things that I love doing is just taking the messaging from all of the coaches to our community and making sure that we get to meet in a way that creates great relationships. So if you're somebody who, finds a value in women's sports and is a Hawkeye fan in any way, I just really encourage you to come out to this luncheon, because I think it's an insight into the philosophies and the relationships of our head coaches that sometimes you're not able to see from a stat page, but you really kind of can learn more by being able to have some great Q&A and kind of learn more about them as people and learn more about the relationships that we have as staff members, and just be brought into our community and our Hawkeye family. And I've always felt that once people can kind of meet our staff members and our coaches and really understand them as people, there's just no way that they don't want to become Hawkeye fans in a deeper way and come out to all of these home events here in Iowa City and support our student athletes.
Absolutely. I think the exciting thing for me, and probably for our coaches as well, with events like this is the opportunity to create a new fan, right? I know I've heard even from this podcast, I know Lisa Salucci had a new fan come up to her and say, I've never really paid attention to field hockey, but I heard your podcast and I'm in now. And I know Coach Barnes, he golfs a lot, and he's met some people out on the golf course that they've started coming to volleyball games because they like the way he does things. They like his philosophy and things like that. So I think what a cool opportunity to come hear from all of these coaches, and you might find you're interested in a sport or interested in a coach that you didn't know about, and I think that's the cool thing for events like this.
And I know everyone's busy and days are busy, but truly, if you're free and in the area on February 22nd, come over for lunch. And it's one thing that I think all of us look forward to, being able just to kind of meet Hawkeye fans and connect in a way that gets us out of Iowa City and gets us into the community in really meaningful ways. And so I appreciate all of the work that's gone into planning a day like that. And we hope to have a great turnout and really get to meet some new people and, like Taylor said, add some fans, because I think what we're all doing here at the University of Iowa is something that everybody can be really proud of. And honestly, like February 22nd is really kind of a feeder event, because we are moving towards a really large event in May. And tell us about that, Taylor.
Yeah, so in May, we're going to be celebrating 50 years of women's athletics at the University of Iowa. And so we'll be throwing a big party that weekend, Saturday, May 6th in Carver Hawkeye Arena down on the gym floor. We'll be having the Black and Gold Gala. And so this February event, and we also did an event here in Feller in November. Those are kind of lead-up events. We're trying to get people interested and, get them in the know that we're having this big celebration in May. We want as many people back to celebrate this big milestone as possible. And I think we'll have food and activities, and coaches and staff will be there and things like that. It'll be open to the public. And I think it's just a really great and fun way to celebrate such a notable milestone for Iowa athletics.
Kelsey, tell us a little bit about the websites and what you're doing in terms of getting the messaging out to our Hawkeye fan base.
Yes, and once that's available to purchase tickets, should be shortly. We'll get that out as soon as possible. We've had to save the date up throughout all of our Carver events, so people are aware that it's fast approaching and we cannot wait to celebrate with them. Aside from the HERkys page, which we have always promoted on this podcast, we also have a new one, Hawkeyesports.com/women. Hawkeyesports.com/women. If I need to say it a little slower. It highlights all of our golden moments of all of our women's teams throughout the decades. It's so fun to kind of flip back in time and see all these incredible accomplishments that our women have been able to accomplish throughout the years. So not only that, you can go check out those moments, but we'll be having videos. We've kind of got a hub where you can watch Unshakable Belief on it. We'll have the events and any other upcoming items on that page as well. It's just fun to look back and see not only where we've gone, but where we're going, and we're rising at a fast rate here.
The Golden Moments is a really awesome way to kind of do a retrospective through history and some of the highlights. And that was a project that really came to light as the 50 years of Iowa women's athletics approached. How did that project come together? That's not an easy thing to figure out. And I know there's a lot of research that went into that.
Yes, our former Deputy Director of Athletics, Barbara Burke, dedicated an incredible amount of time. So grateful for her leadership, mentorship to tackle that major project. And we have a committee, former staff members and former alums. A couple shout out. I don't want to say too many names because I'll probably miss somebody, but Paula Jantz was heavily involved, Liz Ullman, our current staff members, sports information team.
Diane Thomason.
Diane, thank you for saying Diane. They lived it. They know what we're looking for. And then a lot of our head coaches really provided additional information. Lisa Salucci gave us a whole, the field hockey tradition's incredible. So it was really fun to go back and look at pictures, photos. We'll be putting together a larger video to document some of those incredible moments. And it's so fun to look at, and I'm just so proud to be an Iowa Hawkeye and have that a part of, where I'm working at.
And those are things we're going to be highlighting on this podcast as the spring goes on and through different social media outlets. But it's up now, and you can go and check it out and really get that much more excited and have that much more pride in the history. And hopefully by doing that, that'll spur you on to definitely take advantage of the events that we have on our schedule, whether it be National Girls and Women in Sports Day, the luncheon in Des Moines on February 22nd, and definitely coming out on May 6th and enjoying the gala here for the celebrating Iowa women's athletics and celebrating our history. A little bit more of the details. I know we've got an MC for the evening, and that's Debbie Antonelli. Want to talk a little bit about that, Taylor?
Yeah, so Debbie Antonelli is our host for the gala. So she will be interviewing coaches and letter winners and possibly student athletes throughout. You'll find out what's next for women's athletics, where we're headed. We'll, of course, talk about where we've been and, the people that have gotten us to where we are. But Debbie is just going to add a great element to that celebration with all of her perspective and her work in women's athletics as well.
And you've been running a huge campaign to not only allow all of our community members to come to this event, but also our alums.
Yeah, so a lot of my work is with letter winners. And so as a letter winner myself, it is one of my favorite parts of my work. But, keeping them engaged, keeping them close to their programs, even though they may not be around anymore, like in the same area, or even though they may have a different coach now than they had when they were there. I think everyone still takes such great pride in the program that they were a part of, and we want them to always feel like they're a Hawkeye and always feel like they're part of that program. I think the really cool thing about, National Girls and Women in Sport Day and Unshakable Belief and all of these celebrations that we're putting together is, as people in athletics, coaches, student athletes, we're always thinking about the future, right? Like, what's next? Where are we going? Next pitch, next game, next weekend, right? And sometimes I think you forget to stop and take a look back at everything that's brought you where you are. And I think that's the cool part of National Girls and Women's Sports Day. That's the cool part of Unshakable Belief. And that's the cool part of these golden moments, is looking back at the last 5 decades and the amazing things that so many people did that we don't think about anymore because we're on to the next thing. And so I think it's a great way to highlight these letter winners, highlight these past trailblazers. And I think we're really excited for the May weekend, especially, to get these letter winners back. I know how fun it is to reunite with my teammates when we get the chance. And so just getting them back home in Iowa City to feel like they're in college again, like they're part of a team again, and just really bring them back to their years as a Hawkeye competing and get to see where the programs are headed now and know that they had a big part in that.
Every team is putting together a gift basket, every men's and women's teams, for this gala, which will be able to be auctioned off at the gala. And then also every sport is also putting on an alumni function earlier in the day. And so for all of our letter winners out there, stay tuned, because not only do you have the chance to come back and be able to socialize with your fellow team members and all of the different alums through the generations of your particular sport, you also then get to have an event where you're going to see all of your other fellow student athletes from all of the other programs. It's really a once-in-a-lifetime reunion that'll take place in May. So I'm really hoping that our community will love supporting this and getting back and maybe seeing some of their favorite players from the past as we kind of circulate around Carver Hawkeye Arena that night. But then also for all of our former letter winners, being able to see faces that you remember from your college days is really priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we've started within our office, and the Letterwinner Club has started this last year, is the Iowa Letterwinner Club Network. So if there's any letter winners out there and you're not on the network yet, keep an eye out for your emails, or you can go to jointheiclub.com/letterwinners, and you'll find a little button there where you can join the network. And that's really a hub for all of our letter winners to stay up to date on programs. We have coaches that post video updates, coaches that post newsletters, and then we're sure to post all of our events and different things like that on there so that you are in the know and you're still part of Iowa athletics and everything that we're doing here. So join the network if you haven't, letter winners.
I love that. So Kelsey, what's kind of like our final send-off to our Hawkeye listeners here in terms of how they can be involved in Hawkeye athletics?
Yes, there's so many ways. And before we let Taylor get off the hook, I need to give Taylor a huge shout out for all she's doing on the social media platforms for iClub and the letter winners. So if you're not following those social accounts, do you want to say their account names?
At Join the iClub and at Iowa Letter Winners.
Taylor's just doing an amazing job. And if you're not following those platforms, make sure you are, because that's a great way to stay up to date with what's going on. And then that kind of shifts into all of our teams. If you're not local and you're not able to come to the events, follow our teams on social media, track on what's going on with them, follow their accounts. It's just a fun, exclusive way to be a part of their team and know what's going on. Follow HawkeyeSports.com. All of our teams have updates there. We do have our Hawkeye Sports app, and you can receive notifications. So any of the women's or men's teams that you want to get notifications, or all of them, you can get updates for upcoming home events, scores, you name it, features that are coming out. And if there's anything else that I would say, continue to listen to this podcast, because Sasha has a pulse on what's going on in the department. She's doing an incredible job communicating with all aspects of what you need to know and the individuals that have the information. So thank you, Sasha, for all you're doing with this podcast. It is so meaningful to our department and a unique inside look at what's going on. And Taylor, with everything that you and your team are doing, if you aren't donating or you're not a part of the iClub, take a second to look at that, because it goes a long way and it really changes the experience of our student athletes. And those are the main ones that I just really wanted to hit on today. And we truly appreciate all the support for all of our teams. Earlier, when I was doing a recap, I forgot women's golf and rowing, and I cannot do that to Megan Menzel and Jeff. They're incredible teams. And, I'm just so excited to be a part of this. And I think if anybody is able to go to that Des Moines event or any of our events, you will not regret it. It's fun. It's special to be a part of it.
Oh, thanks, Kelsey. Thanks for all of that. And thanks, Taylor. Well, Hawkeye listeners, you are up to speed. So we really hope to see you and meet you in person. I'm very grateful that you tune in every week. You are our loyal followers, and we really, really appreciate it. I really am so proud of all of the things that are happening here at the University of Iowa Athletic Department, and honored to work with Taylor and Kelsey. Thanks, you guys. And as always, go Hawks!
This has been HERkys Voice. The mission of the HERkys program is to help our Hawkeye community learn, support, and engage with Iowa women's athletics. To learn more about the HERkys initiative, visit HERkys.hawkeyesports.com. Hawkeye fans, remember to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Once you become a Fight for Iowa podcast subscriber, you'll automatically receive the latest episodes of the Fight for Iowa podcast, the HERkys Voice podcast, Hawk Talk replays, exclusive game day content, and more. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Hawkeye Sports Network.